We're going to be talking about health with purpose today. That is the theme of the day. Thankfully, praise the Lord, I'm now retired from the NHS. Those of you who are still working in the NHS, you have my commiserations. Oh, okay, no, the NHS it's a good service. It's just a bit of a broken service, but it is good. So I was doing that for many years, and whilst I was doing that, I was also studying nutrition and qualified as a nutritional advisor. I have clients as well, so I'm not sitting around in my retirement. I don't believe in that. Here we are. Let's read it together. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. There is more to that verse, but this first part is all about you. You were made with purpose. You were sculpted by God's hand. And here we are. Let's read this together as well. And God said, let us make man in our image. Genesis 1:26. And so he did. Jesus came down and he formed us from the dust of the earth. And he breathed the breath of life into Adam's nostrils. So, Tony, come here. God formed us. So how far away was he when he formed us? Was he that far?
No.
That far?
Closer.
This far? Yes. God was really close to us, to Adam, when he formed him. So when he breathed the breath of life into Adam's nostrils and he became a living soul and he opened his eyes, what was the first thing he saw? He stared into the Creator's face. Can you imagine that smiling face looking back at him? And he says to him, welcome, Adam. Welcome to life. So the fact that God created us, he wanted to keep us healthy. He wouldn't have gone to all that trouble to create us if we could just do whatever we want. So for us to keep our bodies healthy, let's read what it says in Genesis 1:29. And it says, and God said, it's on the face of all the earth, and everything shall be for food. Okay, so we are very expensive property belonging to God, yes? Yeah, we are. We're priceless to him. Now, here we are. Here's the most expensive car ever bought at auction. How much do you think it was?
I would say about 3,000 pounds. 300,000, you mean? No.
The most expensive car ever bought in auction. Okay, someone says 5 million.
I say 3 million.
3 million. I'll take two more guesses. 20 million? And someone else says 60 million. Okay, I'll tell you the answer. Okay. 113 million. Yeah. $143 million, 113 million pounds to buy that car. So if you've got any spare change, that car can be yours. Okay, all right. So this was the most expensive car ever sold at auction. So I've got a question for you. In actual fact, before we go back to that, let me go back. See if I can do that. Can I go back? No. Anyway, we'll come to this question. Now let's say you've got to take that most expensive car and you've got to take it to Cornwall. What would you do? Oh, thank you. What would you do? What would you need to do to prepare that car on that long journey? You have to talk really loud.
Servicing properly.
So it's got to be serviced. It needs fuel. EU, is it? Or is it UE? UE. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Well, yeah, so we need to make sure we've got the proper air in the tyres, yeah. So we've got air, yeah. Anything else? Water. Anything else? We need a driver. The very obvious one. We need a driver. Yeah. Anything else? Insurance. That is a good one. We probably won't be able to afford the insurance for a car like that, but insurance, CE. That's a C. Okay.
First aid kit.
Okay, first aid. First aid kit. Everyone happy with all of that? Yeah? Yeah, we need oil. We do need oil. And we need some kind of sat-nav. That would be good. Although it wasn't very good for us getting here. But so all of these things, they're important, aren't they? To get your car from A to B. So it doesn't really matter how expensive the car is, it still needs to have the same kind of care. We get the instruction manual, we get all of the information that we need with the car. And so, here's my question. If we have so many fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds and pulses at our disposal, why are there so many chronic health conditions? Why do you think that is? This is the reason why. What's all this stuff? Processed foods, yes, exactly. Yeah, so you see that basket is nice and colourful, but it's all the wrong stuff in that basket. Unprocessed or minimally processed. So this will include produce such as fruits, vegetables, milk, fish, pulses, eggs, nuts, seeds that have had no added ingredients. So that is your unprocessed or minimally processed. So there's been little change from its original state. So, and then you have processed ingredients. And these include foods that are, added to foods rather than eaten by themselves. So you wouldn't eat a bowl of salt or a bowl of sugar or a cup of oil. You wouldn't do that, but you would add them to things. So these are processed ingredients. And then you would have processed foods. Okay, so processed foods are foods that are made by combining the foods from group 1 and group 2, which are altered in the way that home cooks would do it themselves. So that includes jam and pickles, tinned fruit, vegetables, homemade breads. Thank you. Homemade breads and cheeses, things like that. So those are processed foods. And then you have the fourth one. Which is the fourth one? Does anyone know? Thank you. I don't need to be here. You all know it already. Ultra-processed foods, which typically have 5 or more ingredients. So they have 5 or more ingredients, and they tend to include many additives, such as preservatives, emulsifiers, sweeteners, and these tend to have a long shelf life. So, how do processed foods affect our health? Here we go. High blood pressure, autoimmune diseases, heart attacks and strokes, cancers, early death. So it's not a very good outlook for someone who has ultra-processed foods over a long period of time. Now, having it now and again, that's okay. But to have it every day, definitely not okay, because these sort of things will definitely happen. So these statistics here, now this is quite old. I was trying to find some more recent ones, but I couldn't find anything as good as this, but more than 800,000 patients were admitted to hospital with malnutrition. This is in the UK. With with malnutrition, nutrient deficiencies last year. That was in 2023, because this was recorded in 2024. Hospital data for England and Wales obtained by The Guardian reveals a threefold increase. Now, this was back then. It's worse now. In diagnoses linked to poor diet in the past decade, with nearly 500,000 people admitted to hospital with iron deficiencies, hundreds of thousands with vitamin deficiencies, and more than 10,000 cases of malnutrition in the year 2023. So, you know, oftentimes when we hear about the word malnutrition, what do you think about? Lack of nutritious food. But, you know, a long, long time ago, and I'm sure everybody here remembers it, they think what? Yeah, they think the poorer countries, they're all malnourished. No, it's happening right here in the UK. We are now overfed and undernourished, unfortunately. So we're going to talk a little bit about the science part now, Tony. I need your help. So here's a digestive system. I know we've got quite a few medical people here, which is nice, but not everybody is, so I'm so sorry, you're going to have to bear with me. So this is a digestive system, and you see right at the top, I don't have a clicker, but right at the top, that long tube, that is your esophagus, and then, so you have this long tube, which you can see there, that's your esophagus, you have a diaphragm here, and then underneath that, you have the stomach, okay? I'm not very good at drawing, and you'll see that in a moment. And then you have your small and large intestine. Your large intestine goes up and across and then down. That's basically it. So this is a diaphragm here. So the food will go down the esophagus, it goes through this little sphincter here and ends up in the stomach. Okay. Now, sometimes this sphincter goes into spasm. As nobody give me an answer who's medical. Okay. Sometimes this sphincter goes into spasm. Has anybody ever experienced that? Everyone's experienced it. Hiccups, exactly. The hiccups, that will spasm, and that's why sometimes you get a bit of chest pain if you have the hiccups, because your heart sits on top of it there. So you'll get a bit of pain there. But that's basically a rough, terrible diagram of the anatomy. Now, when it comes to the intestine, I'm going to ask you a question, and I know everybody's going to answer really well. I think it's gone. Can you? Thank you. I need for you to go to the back anyway, Tony. I'm not having a lot of luck today. Are we okay now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep losing it.
So, I've got a question for you. All right.
We have to go into it.
How long, you take it down there, it comes up. How long do you think the intestines are? This is 24 feet. That's 24 feet. So anyone want to change their mind? 24? 24? Okay. All right, this is 25 feet. Anyone? No. Okay. 26? And this is 27 because it's run out now. This is 27 feet. Okay, so one person changed their mind? All right, let's see who was correct. So the answer is 26 feet. Those who said 26 feet, run to the top of the class. Those who didn't, next time. So, when it comes to the intestines, there's something, if you keep it there, Tony, so it doesn't go funny again. There is something that this is how it works, basically. So here's your intestine. The food travels along here, okay, like so. And this is, the intestine has a lining that's 1 cell thick, very, 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 very thin, microscopic. And then it has these little junctions that keep it, the inner lining attached to the outer lining. This is all quite basic stuff, okay? It's a lot more serious than this. And the food travels along here by this amazing system called peristalsis. It moves it along through the intestines. And along here live these little animals. I'm going to call them animals, okay? They live along there, like so, okay? So we're just going to bear that in mind. We're going to come back to it. I'll hold on to this. Okay. So, what about our gut health? This is our gut health. And 70 to 80% of our immune system is made in the gut. It's not made in the red blood cells or your bone marrow. 70% is made right there. So it's really important to keep it healthy because it is the largest immune organ, immunological organ, the gut. So the rest is made in the bone marrow, it's in the lymph nodes, and the spleen and the thymus, which sits around here. So how does this work? It works like this. So the food passes through here, all the nutrients are absorbed, like so, and that's a diagram of a pretty healthy gut. But God put something amazing in place in order for that to work. And it's this. What's that? The stomach. Well, what's that in it, do you think? Enzymes. Yes, we've got enzymes. What? Okay, you put this. Microbiome. It doesn't just live in the gut, it lives on our bodies and in our bodies. And that's what these little things are here. There's around 70 trillion of these that live just inside the gut alone. So it's like a little universe inside us. And it's amazing because they have a very, very important job to do. So, what is it? These are tiny microorganisms that are made up of trillions of bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other microbes that live very happily there in the gut. And they're mainly in the gut, but they're also found on the skin, the nose, and the mouth. And they help with digesting food and absorbing nutrients. They also make certain nutrients as well. So the microbiome is very, very important. They're the body's defense mechanism. So nothing should get past it because it's there. God put it there to keep us healthy. So they train your immune system to recognize harmful invaders, and they can prevent bad microbes from taking over. So they prevent you from getting, very, very sick, like flu, colds and things like this, and even more serious illnesses. The microbiome protects you from that. So some microbes, they make vitamins like vitamin K and some certain B vitamins as well. So, what is it? It's unique to you. So my microbiome will be completely different to Tony's, even though we may eat the same food. It's like a fingerprint. It's unique to everybody. So it also influences your mood as well, and they affect the brain's chemicals as well. So you hear that phrase, you are what you eat. It is very true, because your microbiome will determine the type of person that you are as well. They help to regulate the metabolism, and it can also influence how the body burns fat, manages sugar, and uses energy. So it's all down to the microbiome. Very, very powerful system that is in place. So, do you think that you can tell if your microbiome isn't working properly? Let's take a look, see what happens. Autoimmune disorders, such as thyroid issues, rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, irritable bowel syndrome, constipation, diarrhea, heartburn and bloating, sleep issues, skin rashes and allergies, sugar cravings, we've all been there, sugar cravings, fatigue and sluggishness, mood disorders, anxiety and brain fog, weight issues. That's a lot just from your food, just from not getting the right food. So how does that happen? Can you hold that so it doesn't? Thank you so much. How does that happen? Well, basically, if you're eating the wrong food, like lots of ultra-processed food, sugars especially, they will actually start to kill off the microbiome. So you start to lose them. And remember, they're our body's defense mechanism. So if they get lost, what do you think happens? So basically, our soldiers, they disappear because they're not getting the nutrients. So this lining will also break down. Now, this lining will break down naturally anyway, but it's replaced. But these nutrients that are passing through the gut, food, will start to leak out into the... This is a leaky gut. So it gets out into the wider system. Obviously, you can't see a piece of broccoli or anything like that. But very, very tiny microscopic particles will leak into the wider system. And that is what you call a leaky gut. So what does the body do when it sees that? Let me draw a piece of broccoli, because that's the only thing I can draw. Okay, there's a piece of broccoli, okay? What do you think the body would do if it saw that in the wider system? What do you think it would do? Attack. It would attack it and say, I don't know who you are. Let's attack you. So what would the symptoms of that be? Yeah, inflammation, thank you. You get inflammation. So I'm gonna go through that now. Okay, so you're getting all of these things. You get things like brain fog and painful joints, irritable bowel, all of these symptoms, all from having a poor diet. Jesus is talking about he's the bread of life. The bread is mentioned so many times in the Bible. The bread is good for you. But the bread that we have today is not. The simple reason is that once upon a time, the gluten is supposed to be very, very fragile, and it's only supposed to last a day. But now they've hybridized the wheat. They've mixed Japanese wheat with another type of wheat, and they add all of these different types of wheat together, and they've kind of created this Frankenstein type of wheat now that is very, very, very difficult for the body to digest. So if you imagine the back of your hand is itching you, so what do? You scratch it. Naturally you will scratch it. But imagine if you're doing that all day, what will happen? It will get inflamed and it will start to hurt. That is what gluten does to the gut. It's now very, very difficult for people to digest gluten. So it causes all of these other digestive issues, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel, all of these things, because the gluten it's really designed for shelf life. It's not designed for our health. So that's why we had to exclude that from our diet. I'm not saying that you have to do that, but just be mindful of the long-term effects of eating bread every single day. It's really important that we educate ourselves in regards to our own bodies. You know, we're very much in that mindset of it's whole wheat, it's whole this, and it's brown, so it must be good. but it's not necessarily the case. But no, don't go home and throw all your bread out, okay? Don't do that. Because, and I never ever advise anybody to do that, for the simple reason is that if you get scared into doing it, you'll eventually go back to it. You have to be convicted to do it. So just cut it down a little bit and add other things that are healthy rather than cutting it out and then going back to it. All right, so this is an example of the typical salad that I would make. Sorry? So yeah, this is an example of the salad that I would make. As you can see, there's lots of colour in there. And I would vary this as well. Sometimes I put other things in there and, you know, just to mix it up a little bit, but there is always probiotics and prebiotics in the salad. Probiotics, you know those little things that you can drink, Actimel, don't bother with that. Because the sugar content is so high, it's killing your microbiome that you're supposed to be feeding. So I would not bother with anything sweet in terms of probiotics. Probiotics are your bug's food, okay? The microbiome, that's food for them. So I would advise that you have sauerkraut, which is like fermented cabbage, or kimchi. Kimchi is my favorite. I prefer that to sauerkraut. You like it as well. Sauerkraut or kimchi. There are other things that you can have, but kimchi is the best. And I mix that into the salad, and that's fermented vegetables. So that is your probiotics. Your prebiotics is all that other stuff, especially the garlic. Garlic's important too. I also season my salad. I put little bean sprouts, the little shoots in there. I put those in too, because they've actually got more nutrients than the vegetable that comes from it. So you're better off having those. And there's peppers, there's all sorts in there. Everything goes in there, including my nuts. Flavor your salad. It doesn't have to be bland. Put flavoring in it, and then you'll enjoy it. And when you enjoy it, you'll want to make it again, rather than just think, oh, do I have to? I chop my salads up quite fine because I'm doing half the work that my teeth would do. So I chop it up and then eat it. So it's important because to eat from the ground. Why? Because that's where we came from. So it's natural that things that would be assimilate in our bodies would be better if it comes from the ground too. God made us to be healthy, to be happy individuals. And this is what he says. Let's read it together. For I know the plans I have for you. This is the Lord's declaration. Plans for your well-being, not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. That's what God wants to do for us. And so I'm hoping that health with purpose will be something for you too. As you can see, we have a little myriad of food here in front of us, ingredients. So this is what I call a power salad. Now, normally when people have salads, they think, oh, this boring rabbit food that, you know, nobody can eat because it's just so boring. I can't eat this all day, every day. But it's really about what you make of it, what you put into it to give it flavor. God has given us a lot of things. This is just a few of the things that I put into my salad. Not everything is here, but when you make your salad, you need to think of all the different things that your body needs. Your body needs fat. As much as we say, try to cut out fat from your diet, you need fat. Our brain needs fat to function. So we have avocados, which have the fat. We need protein, so we have beans. We have our omega-3s and 6s here as well. Has anybody got any seed or nut allergies? Nobody. Okay, that's good. And we've got our prebiotics, which is the vegetables here, especially the garlic. And we've got our probiotics, which is fermented vegetables, which is kimchi. You can make your own kimchi, but I'm lazy. So here is the kimchi. There's cress as well, but we haven't I don't think we'll be able to put that in because we need to wash that. But here we have all the stuff. We've also got cruciferous vegetables, which is your broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage. Today we've got broccoli. Sometimes I mix it up and I put cauliflower in there. Sometimes I'll shred up a bit of cabbage and put that in there as well. So just to vary it, because the more variance you have in regards to your food, the more microbiome you make. And the more microbiome you make, the healthier you will be. So this is the nice, colourful food.